topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hi, welcome to Learning to Dance in the Rain podcast and live today with Carl Litchfield, my pastor from Mendon and Baroque. How are you today, Carl?
I'm fine, thank you. It's nice to be here with you, Shelby. Thank you for asking.
I'm very happy to have you. I always enjoy our talks and always learn something. And
as long as I don't get too goofy on you, right?
Oh, hey, goofy is good. I hear from that sometimes, we're a little bit too serious and we need to lighten up a little bit. So don't worry about being too goofy.
I've enjoyed our conversations together quite some time, but I've been looking at this one chapter here and hoping we could dive into it. Learning, let's see, it was about the red flags. How do you tell if it's a scammer that's bothering you or approaching you? And my first thought is you're speaking on behalf of an older woman, perhaps, who's been on their own for a while and maybe out of the social swing of things, perhaps. Maybe they're widowed or divorced and just thinking a lot, maybe feeling a little lonely. And I can just imagine how flattered they might feel or how relieved they might feel when someone extends an invitation to them or shows attention to them and that sort of thing. This is a very difficult thing to warn them about. Hey, go slow here. Take it easy. Don't rush into things. I'm glad you wrote this chapter. But I can imagine if somebody's heart is all aflutter, the last thing you want to do is ask hard and fast questions about, is this person honest or is this person trying to scam me? That would be a bit, if you're already feeling just a little bit in love, it might be very difficult to ask these questions. What do you think?
Well, there are questions that need to be asked. And if the other person ignores your questions or
Right.
doesn't answer them, first of all, if they don't answer the questions that you have, then we're not really having a conversation.
Good point.
Conversation is between two people and it's a give and take, just like we're doing here. I mean, monopolize the conversation. It's back and forth. And that's the way it has to be. Even when you're texting or chatting or emailing, if you have questions and they don't answer them, then that's a red flag right there. A red flag.
It occurred to me, I met my wife in person long before, of course, a year or so before we got married. And I don't know how this meeting online would work as far as making impression or drawing conclusions or getting a close feeling for someone when you haven't met in person. And I would think that I think one of your warnings along here is if they start to profess how much they love you or how deeply they're attracted to you right away. Mm-hmm. How do they arrive? First of all, how can they possibly arrive at that conclusion when they have only begun to meet you or they've only seen a picture of you? That's a pretty bold thing to have to be able to try to say.
Right.
I think right away I would be suspicious. Well, you don't know me at all. Why are you thinking that? Why are you saying you're already in love with me when we haven't even begun a conversation?
Right. You can be sure if that we call it love bombing.
bombing. Oh,
Today,
really?
love bombing. If they're
Huh,
love bombing you, then you know right away, hang up and
huh.
block them and don't go any further, because that's one of the very first signs that happens. Uh,
Wow.
that,
Wow.
that, that and a request for money.
Oh
If
boy, that'd be big.
what they're trying to do is establish a trust relationship, and they'll
Huh.
talk about trust. Even and every one of them will start saying, well, you know, do you have trust issues? That was one of the, and they always said, well, it looks like you have trust issues. And I said,
No.
well, yeah, with someone that I just started talking to and I haven't even met on
Right.
yet.
How do you establish trust? How do you even begin to get acquainted? That's the tricky part.
Right. It's
Mhm.
getting better, a little bit better now with uh, Zoom and Skype and things where you can talk and to face to face.
Right, right, right.
Or when I did this 5 years ago, 3 years ago, um, I didn't really, you don't know that person on the other side of your screen. I
Right,
mean, that person is far away and you have no idea if they're telling you
right,
the truth or not.
right.
And so to tell them, to try to establish a trust relationship online is ridiculous. I mean, I would get those messages maybe the second or third chat. They'd, oh, I love,
Really?
you know, I love the way you
Yeah.
talk. I love the way you look, mama, blah, 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 you know. And well, first of all, I just write back, well, it's impossible to love somebody this quickly,
Huh.
you know,
I agree. I agree.
and, I learned very quickly that the requesting for money is going to come right after the, oh, I love you so
The
and you're so
declarations
beautiful
of
and all
love.
that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They're
And
setting you up.
right.
They're not
So
saying I love you. They're saying I love your money. They're
that's what,
not
yeah.
saying I
I
want
want
you. They're saying I want your money.
right, right. I mean that's the whole thing. And back when let's see, in 18, I think when I updated the book to book 2,
Okay.
20, or 18 is when I wrote the first one, and then 20 was when I updated it to the one we're
Okay.
talking about now. And by that time, they said that every minute of every day, 25,000 scammers were online talking to somebody.
That is
I
amazing.
believe that today that figure is probably double. I mean,
Wow.
honest.
Wow.
Um,
That's
and I have learned that,
astonishing.
yeah, it is astonishing. And I have learned, we have recently learned with this cyber uh, um, um, currency scams that
Okay.
it's tied in with the kidnapping, the human
Human
trafficking.
trafficking? Really?
There are
Really?
ads on social media, in the paper, everywhere for good jobs. This one
Oh, I
young
see.
man in China had graduated with a finance degree, and
Yes.
he thought he was going to a certain southeastern country, Miramar. I'm not exactly sure
Myanmar.
who that
I
was.
think I read this online. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he thought he was hired to this really exciting job. You know, oh boy, he was really excited about it. So he flew there, and someone met him and took him, and they put him on a bus. And when he got off, it was out in the middle of nowhere. It was like a concentration camp. The kid had been kidnapped, and then
Oh,
he was
oh no.
forced to go online and train to say they have a script that
Oh, that's
starts
right.
with the love. Oh, I'm in love with you, and encouraging them and all that
Oh,
stuff. And then if they don't do this, they are beaten. They are,
so
refused food, whatever.
so
It's
these persons are being forced to
right. And
become a scammer, whether it's for their
that's
profit or their desire at all.
right. That's right.
They're they're
And
they're under threat to they have to do it.
right, and there are
Wow.
persons that they are talking to try, to following the script that I love you, and we need to have a beautiful future together, and then
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
finally, oh, I've had an accident, and I need some money, or
Oh, oh,
there's
oh,
always some urgent excuse. Also, they don't want you to tell anybody that you're talking to them either, because
They want to
you
keep
know
it.
that probably somebody will talk you out of sending them the money if you. But the love and the
No,
compliments are to build you up and get you to like them and to want and get them addicted to,
soften your heart.
yeah,
Well,
to
yes, of
talking to
course
you.
I'll help you. I'm
But
sorry you're going through this. Of course I'll help you.
right, this
Mhm.
young man was in finance, and it's by crime syndicate in Southeast Asia, and they finally promoted him to work in the office as taking care of their finances and
Oh,
their books and everything. And so he
really?
took pictures of the camp. He took pictures of different documents and so on. And finally, after 6 months, he was able to get word out to his parents that he was, in trouble, and please come. And somebody came to the camp and helped to get him out of there. And that's how the New York Times ran an article about him about 2 months ago, telling, and this is how oh my gosh, we had no idea it was to this bad, this terrible an extent. Not only are the victims like us, victim that we fall for this scam and send them the money, but then they don't get the money. They have to
Yeah,
give it to whomever is, I mean, they're
right,
slaves,
right.
actually slaves today.
No,
And so,
whoever has enslaved them, they're the only ones that profit.
right, and that's organized crime, criminals,
Organized crime.
yeah, syndicate over
Wow.
there,
Wow.
worldwide. Actually, there's a group called Operation Shamrock now that has picked up on
Oh,
that. Are finally talking to law enforcement and training them how to deal with the situation. And
wow.
I
Wow.
want to talk about that more a little bit later. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
so they're victims. The scammers themselves are victims in some cases. I did a 3-part series on my virtual romance with Karina. And that's three of my
Oh,
episodes earlier. The
okay.
first one, she talks about falling in love with the person that had contacted her. And then how in the second series, the second, whatever you call it,
Mhm.
episode, then
Episode.
she
Mhm.
explained how she found out that it was a scam, and how he wanted
Huh.
more money and more money, and they were investing it, and he was investing it in a fake company, but he convinced her it was real. So when
Right.
it finally came down to it, she finally talked to her mother, who talked to her stepfather, and the stepfather says, "Well, this doesn't sound right." He says, "Call that investment company. It was a real investment company, and talk
Huh.
to them about your account." So she called them, and he, the man on the other side of the phone, says, You don't have an account with us."
Wow.
And I mean, okay, she thought she was putting her money into this real
To a
account,
real account
but
in her name.
they
Huh.
fake the whole thing to make it look like the real company. And they give you reports that say you're making money and all of this, but actually it's all fake, and it's
Wow.
not.
Wow.
So when it all falls down at the end, you try to withdraw your money that you think you have made or that you deposited to make some money. And all of a sudden there's all these hoops you have to jump through to get your money out of
Wow.
there.
Wow.
And it's just a terrible situation. And
Yeah. Yeah.
thankfully the law enforcement agencies and banks and so on are learning to how to deal with this
Wow.
problem, try to
Wow.
get the word out so people stop falling for these scams.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, some of it, what you're saying, I'm looking at 25, 26, 27, 28. And all of these things sound like perhaps what this young man was doing. He was in a call center, forced to do these scam calls and that sort of thing. But 25 is if anyone sounds like they're in a box. And I put
Right.
question marks there. Oh, does it mean that their voice is a little distorted, perhaps, or disguised, perhaps? Is that
Yes.
what you're speaking about?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It is a distortion. It kind of almost echoes like
Oh,
sometimes it's done that. It just sounds strange. It's not, it doesn't sound like you and me talking right now or having a conversation. And there are voice machines that alter your voice to make your voice sound like someone else.
All right. All right.
I don't know if yesterday I got an email from a promoter that I know, and I've talked to him in the past.
Okay.
And he started, oh, this is blah, blah, blah. And then he says, but not really. This is my image from AI, and I am talking through there. I mean, there it was. So it looked just like him. It looked so real, like he was really in that video. And yet
like he was
he
really
admitted
talking.
before he started that this was me, but it's not me.
He was
And
trying to
anybody
show
else
you
could
how
do the same.
realistic AI could be.
Mhm.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good lesson right there. That's,
Right.
you know, and it's a frightening thing. How can ordinary people like you and I figure out that someone's scamming us through AI and maybe using someone else's image and animating it to make it appear that they're talking to us?
Right. Right.
Yeah, boy,
It's
that's a whole nother level there.
It's a very scary world,
Yes, it is.
I think. And it's important to always, before you give out personal information or send money, maybe you get a video, it looks like it's your son or your grandson or whatever, and they need money for some reason, and it might not even be them at all. So you need to talk to somebody else before you send some money. In this one case, I learned about the granddaughter was thanking me for having written my book and told me about her grandparent scam. Grandma had received a message or a phone call from said to be a police detective, and that the grandson was in jail and needed $2,000 for bail. And he needed it right away, so please send it. Well, she said, I have to figure out how to do it. And she hung up. And then she called her daughter, the mother of the grandson.
Right,
And,
right.
and the daughter said, well, Jeff is in his bedroom
No.
right now. He's not in jail.
He's
So,
not.
yeah, it's very important to call somebody
Wow.
who, you know,
Doing it that way, she caught it right away. I mean, mother
yeah,
knew exactly where her son was.
right.
Grandson was not in trouble.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
And another friend of mine I thought was rather wise. She got a call on the phone wanting some information about some family member. And she said, okay, well, would you please tell me her middle name?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Or something that nobody else might know,
Right, exactly.
but family would know it.
Right.
And I thought, wow, are you ever smart? That's a good idea.
Yeah.
You know, you just got to check everything out, but always hang up, call somebody else, and then check with it, and then you'll know.
That's very smart. That's very smart.
Very good.
They'll help put on the brakes if they sniff that this is not real. They'll help you slow down or stop.
Right.
And I think that's the key, to go slow. You know, it could be genuine. It could be the blooming of a new relationship. I know of a few people that have met online, and they took their time, and they took precautions when it came time to meet in person. I know of a couple of young women that they have met somebody online, a man online, and when it came time for them to meet, that this young woman brought along her girlfriend, and they met in a public place like a food court at a mall or something like that, and they arrived with their own transportation, and they were able to leave at their own discretion and that sort of thing. You know, they weren't dependent upon someone else or trapped in any way. They weren't picked up and carried someplace they don't know where. So, you know, there are good things that can come out of that if we take precautionary steps. And I have heard and met people that have met online, and it's been a rewarding relationship. But the main thing is to go slow. No matter what you do, go slow. And if they're rushing you, that's a bad sign. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. You have my list of do's.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And my s- my daughter, she said, had me to leave on my desk who I was going with, the full name, where I was going to meet them at, and it was interesting. One time, I even asked the fella for his the. Well, I always ask him for what color car, in case I see the car in the parking lot or whatever, we meet inside or whatever. But I ask for as much information as I
Good,
can get,
good.
and
Yeah.
I even asked for the license to the car.
Oh,
He sent back the question, well, I want the license number for your car too. And I thought, well, that's a good thing for you too, because men don't know
I,
what a woman is going to do either.
well, I think, yeah, men could be scammed just as readily as a woman.
Yeah,
Um,
well, the
a lonely
statistics,
man will, can fall head over heels in a quick way
right? One of
and
the
be taken
statistics I
advantage of.
said that 48% of the victims of scams are men and 52% are women.
Is it that
So
much?
that's
I,
the right.
I was going to add, absolutely, I had it entirely wrong. I thought it'd be like 75-25 women victimized more often than men, but it really is quite close to each other.
Right.
That takes me by surprise. I had not anticipated that kind of an answer. So,
Well, I
hey,
was,
I'm learning something today.
well, I don't know. Did you know that Rick and I met online?
Well, I believed you did. I didn't want to mention that personal item, but but that's a special set of circumstances all by itself. I'm sure.
All
Absolutely.
by itself. But
Yep.
of
Yep.
course, it took 6 years.
Oh, really? Well, now you're talking about going slow. I guess you did, lady.
Well,
Huh.
now I no, we met a year ago Christmas online. I saw his picture on our time, I think it was, and
Oh, okay.
I just said, "Would you like to chat sometime?"
All
And
right.
so he wrote back yes, and we started talking. And he, being blind, he listens to audiobooks a lot.
Okay.
He's that's main pastime. And so I think the third or fourth question he asked me was, "What's your favorite book?" And
Huh.
I thought a minute, and then I wrote back, "Learning to Dance in the Rain." And he
Well,
says,
I would say so. I should say so.
"Who's the author?" And I said, "Me."
Ha!
And the next message that came back says, "I bought your book already."
Oh boy. Oh boy.
What? I mean, I've been doing that for what? I wrote my first book in 18, and I don't think, and I was online 2, 3 years at that time, and then I was on again a year and a half ago. And I said, I don't think anybody ever said they bought my book. And so that was a good mark for him. I was impressed
Well,
right
yeah,
away.
he was curious enough
And
to
I knew right away that he
well,
was not a scammer. He bought my book.
he could have been a scammer trying to figure out how can I get around her knowledge. Well, anyway,
So, but yeah, so
it's
that's it.
proven to be true and good for you and Rick together.
Yeah,
It's a good friendship, good relationship.
yeah, and we took our time. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing.
yeah, but that's a story for another day. So let's go
All
on
right.
with another one of your
Well, the
questions.
one thing, it sounded like I know that there are a lot of times people, like there were scams going around, probably still are, about people calling up about financial investments. I'm representing this stockbroker, and we got a hot tip, and if you get in now, you can really make a killing and that sort of thing. And it turns out that this is all boiler room um, lies. And And typically, these callers are involved in a huge calling operation, and there's you can hear voices all over the place in the background because all these people are involved in calling people and trying to convince them to make that commitment, make that investment. And it sounds like it's possible now that you were talking earlier about this man from China that was kidnapped and ended up being forced to be a scammer and was kind of in one of these huge operations at the same time. And the one that really caught my attention, number 28, if there are people talking in the background, it sounds like it's a big factory type of operation that's going on. And how can you ignore that? This person isn't talking personally. This person is talking in a huge office full of people doing the same thing.
Right.
It's a
I've seen videos.
Yeah,
I've seen videos of a site just like that, where it looks like people are, in little cubicles, like the marketers are. Right.
Yeah.
And so yes, that's a very good sign. And I found it very hard to understand what the person was saying to me too.
I see.
Background noise behind, but yep, that's a very good. I found that to be a very good one. Most of these tips that I put in here are ones that I learned personally.
I see.
Most of the dating sites will tell you about the money. If they ask for money, don't do it. Right. If they ask for, especially if they want Bitcoins or gift cards or wired money or, that kind of thing, that is, and that is very urgent. If, we need it right now because they don't want you talking to somebody else. And, but also it was amazing to me that they also talk about number 4, number 3, if the businessman owns his own business or is an engineer or a construction engineer or is in the military, these are working offshore on an oil rig, all of these are very suspect right from the very beginning.
Really?
And if anyone claims to be an American but works in a foreign country, that was one. But I see that there's a lot of foreigners that claim to be working in America.
Well, call centers out of India, where anytime you got computer trouble and you try to get somebody to help you, it's a common complaint. I couldn't understand because they have such a terribly thick accent and that sort of thing. But they're speaking English, but they still have the accent of their country of origin. So that's pretty common. Actually, I think Shelby, you're just touching it. I had a question about number 2. If anyone asks you to go to a different place to chat, such as Google Hangouts or WhatsApp or something like that, and I wondered why that would be a red flag. But I think you just hinted toward that. You want to say more about that? Why is that a precaution?
All right, that is one of the tips that most of the websites will tell you too, because the chatting platform on the dating site is a private one, and it is a safe one, they say. And so you can you share whatever you want to do there. But most scammers will immediately want you to go to WhatsApp, or especially WhatsApp is known as a scammer's chat program.
Really? Why is that?
You think of it as a business one, but I don't know, because there again, the things are promised to be encrypted and no one else is supposed to
I see.
Be able to see what you have said or what you've talked about or whatever. I don't know, but a lot of them do that. And if they do ask you to go to another one, I had one ask me Telegram. Have you ever heard of Telegram? I haven't heard of Telegram, but he wanted to talk on Telegram. And I checked it out, and it was just like WhatsApp or these other ones. But couldn't figure out why. But a lot of the dating sites will tell you, stay on our site to talk to these
I would
people.
just, that was my next
You get
question.
to know
That's
them.
safer because they're
If you-
watching out for your best interest in on the
Right.
dating site. And
Right.
they're trying, and the scammers trying to get you away from their protective watch care and
Mhm.
get you alone, basically,
Right.
verbally, or get you alone in communication
Uh-huh.
anyway at that point.
And
So,
also they you can if you if someone does ask you for money, or is that, you should immediately contact that website administration and tell them. They tell you to do that, and that's a good point on it. I one of the sites I tried out was that oh, I can't remember now what it was. It was supposed to be a really good one, and
okay.
I had only I got a message from a man, and I had not even had a chance to write back. Well, maybe I did write back once, and then it came back that he had been taken off of the website totally because people had said he was a scammer. So,
So there are complaints about him already, and
right. So,
the
yeah,
dating site took him away.
I'll tell you, it doesn't matter what other app they want to talk on. It's better to stay right in the dating site until you know that this
Thank you.
person is trustworthy.
I had questions about that, and you answered that very well. Thank you. That helps. That
You're
helps.
very welcome.
Yeah.
I ignored it, and I wish I had not.
Okay.
I
These
ignored
are
that.
hard,
I wanted to write a book about this whole thing, so I wanted to
these
know.
are hard-learned lessons, and you're trying to share your wisdom to
Yeah.
help people to avoid the pain.
The very first
God bless you.
the very first man that texted me said, let's go to I can't even remember which one it was, but so we can get acquainted quicker, because I don't always go on the site, but if we're on email, or I guess it was email, we can talk better and whatever. And so I'm curious. So yeah, so I have to learn the lessons a hard way sometimes, and so
Right.
but I tell you, it's been a pain, and it's really been a pain. And I wish
It's like the young man asking the old man, I keep making mistakes. How do you avoid making mistakes? And the old man says, what you need is experience. Well, how do I gain experience? And the old man says, well, you gain experience by making mistakes.
Oh, I like that
one. To learn the hard way. I'm one of those people. I have to learn the hard way.
Yeah, well, sometimes people don't even appreciate it when you tell them the easy way. they got to do it their way anyway.
Yeah. They're going to stumble on ahead.
Yeah. I think I told you the other time that one of my favorite songs that I do at karaoke is "My Way" by Frank Sinatra.
Oh, Frank Sinatra. I did it my way. Yeah.
And what is a woman? She is not.
Oh boy.
Wants to say the things that she can say, and not the things people want to hear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I did it my way, and I sometimes end it with, "So good luck with doing it your way." But it's fun. It's fun. It just
enjoyable
that whole range,
enjoyable from this end of the experience, but not quite so enjoyable when you're in the middle of it all. I would imagine at times quite painful.
Yeah, well, Rick is new to the dating websites. He was, and or rather new, and he doesn't understand, because he doesn't get any of these scammer calls, at least. And he's amazed, when I tell him, "Oh yeah, well, I got another one today." He's, "I just don't know how you get all of those." And I says, "Well,
boy.
I know why."
The parade keeps marching by.
Once you give money, once you fall victim to something, your name goes on a suckers list.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
And it's sold around the world just like like a telemarketer's list.
Huh.
This person is a sucker. So
At the speed of light.
yeah. So I got one
Wow.
the other day that said, oh, I can't just, I don't know. I know all about you. I was able to get into your computer, and you need to, I need $1,500, and don't worry, if you delete this one, I'll be back again in
Oh
the
boy.
future. And that
That sounds
was
so
Monday.
threatening. That sounds so threatening.
I received a death threat.
Oh no.
Yeah, in December, not this Christmas, but the year before. This last Christmas or the
Oh,
year
for
before.
goodness sakes.
Was that ever scary? And I knew and I figured that it was a scam, but I was still scared. I was
Well,
looking behind my back everywhere I went for a couple, 3 weeks there, and
boy, oh boy.
yeah, um, it was quite scary. And so I would call the police. I told them about it, and they said, it's just a scam, Shelby. It's just a scam. I think they have my name at the police department saying that, I'm a scam victim, and they just pat me on the back and, oh yeah, it's a scam. Go away. Go away. But yeah, so
Well,
that, that's another thing where you have to talk to somebody that you know and you trust. And
right.
I did talk to my family, and I was scared because they were threatened too. And it was a
Wow.
couple of weeks of rather scary stuff. So
Under
you got,
those threats, you really have to do some hard thinking and evaluation whether or not is this for real? Are we really in jeopardy here? Is there real danger here, or is this simply an
right.
empty threat to scare me into doing something foolish?
And it makes me wonder, should I even try to sell my book? Should I even be out there on, doing what I'm doing right now? Because I don't know.
Well, you're helping a lot of people, and I would say that is an overwhelming good that you're accomplishing. And
That's
yet there's still a price that you're paying because you are the public face of that, as author of the book, and also that you're on that suckers list that you were talking about, and that people are going to try and try again to see if they can get something out of you.
mm-hmm.
So that's a tough place to be. So, but I'm glad you wrote the book. I think there are a lot of people that need to hear what you have experienced and the information you share. And they need to think twice about how they're getting involved online with people and that sort of thing for their own protection, for their own good. So I'd say that what you've done is all to the good, but you also still need protection. You also need to be careful and watching over yourself and that sort of thing. So there's
One thing I've learned is don't answer the phone if I don't recognize the number.
I was away on vacation last month, and ever since then, I've been getting scam calls. I'm not thinking where some strange phone number I've never seen before, some area code I don't even know where it's at. I'm getting like half a dozen of those every day since I've been away on vacation. I don't know what triggered it. I don't know why suddenly all these people seem to want to get a hold of me. But as soon as I see that it's an unverified number or something like that, I just don't answer. I figure, I maybe should be putting this in my voicemail message, that I do not answer phone numbers that I don't know. If you really need to get a hold of me, you must leave a message for me, and if with name and purpose and that sort of thing, have a number, and if I know that you are legitimate, I will call you back. But most of these, 90% of all these scam calls, they never put a message down.
Well, too, I found that sometimes they're just calling to see if it's a live number, if somebody's going to answer.
I had heard that. It said if you answer one of these phone calls and there's nobody there and you hang up, 15, 20 minutes later, you will get a call and somebody will be there because they know you're already active on your phone. I had heard that.
Yeah. So
My
yeah,
phone's rang twice since we started this broadcast. I don't know if you were able to hear that. It's kind of a
no,
quiet ringtone, but
uh-huh,
twice. I haven't even pulled my phone out to look to see if it's somebody I need to. I'll return the call later on when we're done. If
uh-huh.
it's somebody I know, so somebody that
Mhm.
I need to call back and connect
I
with.
have to turn my phone off because if it comes in, then it cancels me out of the station for some reason.
Oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
boy, I hadn't realized. But
I don't know, but
yeah.
I got a call like the first day or something, and then I got knocked out of and I got all upset and nervous about it, but I got back in, but I had to turn it off. So I've been turning it off ever since. But
Well, that's smart. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about turning my phone off, while I was preparing to come online with you.
yeah. So do you have any more? We've got about 5 minutes, I guess, left here.
Well, I was looking at 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. Realistic appearances, realistic age gaps, and realistic if it's a 65-year-old man with a 12-year-old girl, father of a young child or something like that. Does any of this add up? I think that would be those would be red flags for sure.
Sure.
Or if it looks like if anyone sends a photo in which they look younger than the age shown on the profile, or the photo looks like it's been copied, or inconsistencies on the profiles, or the background 12, if anything in the background of the photo does not confirm their location. My wife has aunt and uncle that for years they lived down in Arizona, and they lived on the edge of the desert. And anytime they had pictures that they were out on the patio or in the backyard or something like that, they didn't have grass. They had stones and they had cactus and that sort of thing. And everything, when they sent us pictures, everything matched up. Yep, aunt and uncle live in Arizona, So if they say they're in California and they send a picture showing a jungle background, that should give you pause, I would think. But these are all
Right.
good. These are all good. Does it all add up? The
Yeah.
things to say about themselves, the things they're saying about themselves, that match up with what the official record is, or even is there an official record? I think a few of
Right.
these say, have you gone online? Have you done a Google search on their name and that sort of thing? Yeah, you got to be proactive. You got to look into it, make sure that, hey, this person's for real. Am I right? Am I right?
One thing too I learned about that is that these scammers there may be 2 or 3 people that you're talking to with that particular name or profile. Because
Oh,
sometimes they would say something that I had already answered or we'd already talked about earlier. And
oh,
I thought we talked about that earlier. Well, that person was not the one I was talking to that morning.
oh.
So that's another real.
So it was 2 scammers using the same identity. They might not even know.
2 or 3, right?
Oh, for goodness sakes, that's great.
They record the conversation, so they know pretty much. Try to maintain the whatever you call
Yeah,
it,
the integrity of
yeah,
they remember what lie it was they told you so that they can follow
right.
through on that and
Right.
not get tripped
But
up.
sometimes, like in that case, they messed up. I said, we already talked about this morning. How come you don't remember?
Why are you asking that question again?
Mm-hmm. So,
It could be a scammer, or it could be a man who's going into a form of dementia, and that's entirely possible as well.
I
Because you
never
didn't
thought
remember
about
the already asked that question.
that. Never thought about that, but that's a good red flag
I think
too.
so. No, I think so.
Uh,
Especially if you're talking with older men,
right.
may already be beginning to have memory problems.
Right. Getting back to not knowing the person that is on the other side of your computer.
Right.
The one man I talked to quite a while back, I discovered he was a real man, but he was in a veterans hospital.
Oh,
And had been admitted by his family and wanted me to move in with him and take him out of there.
for goodness sakes.
So you don't know if that person's in the hospital, could be somebody in the prison, you know,
Wow.
could have dementia, like you said. They, you just got to be careful, go slow, and have fun with it. It's a good time to just kind of flirt
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
practice your skills and that
Might as
kind of.
well enjoy it. Yeah.
Mhm. And,
I would
and,
say
and
something though further about someone in prison or in jail is that when a prisoner makes a phone call, my experience has been that when you answer the phone, you'll get a recording and saying and they'll say this is a collect call from this prison or this jail, and will you accept the charges? So you know exactly already the prison or the jail's already got some warning ahead of time about
right.
whether or not you can take a call. And if they start to present themselves as, well, they could start to say, I'm getting out next week, so come and see me or something like that,
Mhm, mhm. So we have to be careful, and we're running out of time. We got 4
Okay.
minutes here.
I'm
So
glad we could spend some time together, Shelby.
yeah, thank you
Go ahead.
again for being here today. And I wanted to say that my book, Learning to Dance in the Rain, is in its 3rd edition, and that's the one that you can buy on Amazon. Get your copy today. Also, I have books on scams, telling you about 150 different scams that are out there, and there are thousands more. So you got to really be careful. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about some scams, a particular one. And so I hope that you will come back, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And I look forward to our next one, Carl.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, Rebel. And we'll see you next week. Take care and
God bless
learn to dance. Learn to dance in the rain. Keep your good times, turn your bad times into good times. Bye now.